Hello, everyone. Hope all of you can hear me. I am the last addition to the schedule, by the way. It's all Daniele, who reached out to me a few weeks ago. It's like, hey, we have a situation and we have a speaker who really wanted, but they're not going to be available. And can you jump in? I was like, yeah, I'm going on vacation. So I'll have probably one day to prepare, but I can make it. So that's why I'm here. And I hope with the wise words from Ahmed, hopefully I can make the next 30 minutes valuable for you. Now, I have a very tough job. One, actually, if you have been in many conferences, I say to speakers that you are in the tough spot if you are just right before the lunch and just right before the end of the day. So it puts me in a very interesting spot today with all of you. So I hope I will not bore you. I'm also told to make this as interactive as possible. So I have a good enough content that I was able to put all together in a flight, 4 hours, and I think it will be very valuable. And as I think Ahmed said, this day has been a lot of buzz around AI products, outcome versus output. What I want to maybe bring it all together is in the world of agentic systems and products. What will not change is building teams that can move fast, build towards outcome, and I want to share a bit of my experience through that journey. So I have led product teams, engineering teams in my past roles, and I want to show you a glimpse of some experience that some of those fundamentals still remain the same. So a lot of what you will hear today will not be news. You already know this. I just want to throw this back to you and let you reflect that this is, ultimately all comes down to building strong product-minded and outcome-oriented teams, and how you can keep that in your setup as product leaders. How you can do that, not just with product managers, but engineers, designers, marketers, sales, every single one of them. So a bit of my background, so I worked at 3 large retailers for almost, I think my experience in these 3 companies in leadership role will be around 12 years. I was at Zalando running the engineering teams, but also product teams as part of the size and fit product for a few years. At On, I came in as one of the first engineering managers and then moved to running if you don't know about On, it's a sportswear brand from Zurich. It's quite big right now. Roger Federer invested if you're in tennis, and we had to build the product and engineering organization from ground up. Almost like thinking about how would a retailer be existent in the age of AI and product-driven teams. How do you think about reinvent that? And GS, it's one of the largest conglomerate in South Korea. So if you know LG full form is Lucky Gold Star. GS stands for Gold Star. I also do some content creation, and I also my really passionate project is actually educating, teaching. I think that would have been my alternate role if I would have not been in tech, and I do that also more actively these days. So the goal is to not convince you, but I think it'll be like a revision of sorts as we're ending the day with a lot of AI topics. How do you build product-minded and outcome-driven teams? And as you can see, the bar at the bottom, right? The keeping part is always the hard. Building, I would say, it's hard, but keeping is harder. So how do you do that? What ideas can you take away from today so you can apply from tomorrow in your work premises? Let's do a quick show of hands, and that's a symbol for show of hands, as you can imagine. So I will call out, who are you? Based on the prompt, you'll see, just raise your hands, okay? We'll not do Slido. So who are you? Are you someone who want your teams to empathize with your customers? Are you someone in that room? Okay, we have some hands. Great, I think it's close to 50%. Great. Let's see the next one. And people who raise that hand and you want to also say yes, please, oh, that's fine. I want to build truly empowered teams. I'll be surprised if you say, I don't care about empowered teams. Okay, great. It's almost 100%. You want the teams that care for product outcomes, not just output, just throw things that stick. All right. The last one is the most important one. Okay? So be careful. You're unsure why you're here. And let's be honest. Thank you for honesty. So there is someone. As I said, it's all okay to also be on the right side, the corner side. So as I said in the beginning, a lot of content today, a lot of interesting folks, conversations about building AI systems, agentic systems. A lot of conversation about building small teams, do more with less, fluid roles, inexpensive experimentation. In this world, we want to revisit again the basics, like building product-minded and keeping them matters more than ever. And some of the ideas that I will see was true back in 2015, back in 2005, back in 1995, and it's still super valuable and relevant even in 2025. So we'll see that. So, simple agenda. First section, building those teams. Second section, keeping those teams. What do you do to build these teams, right? It's product minded, outcome driven. I think I distilled that in 3 areas. You want people to demonstrate care for your customers, care for the problem space, not the fancy new tool or fancy new API. And you want the people working on it having care for the product economics. And I think if you don't get anything, I think just this slide is enough. And as I said, this will not be news for you. I think most of you, if not everyone, do really want people to care all about this. So let's look at some things that, as I said, as a revision, that you need to in order to build for teams that care for customers. Again, some obvious ones. One, you want your teams to, irrespective of their function. So again, product manager, designer, marketeer, sales, engineers, analysts, anyone, HR. I'm told there's no word called HR, it's all people. But people, everybody should be able to continuously discover the unmet needs. It's not just a product manager's role, obvious. A screenshot, we used to do this ad a lot back in 2017 at Zalando. Really, who is our customer? Getting people off the east side wall and just bringing them into the office and say, hey, here's your coupon, sit with us for the whole day and just let us talk to you, let's just map you. And I think everybody was part of it. Everybody used to make notes. We had good space there and just bring people in, describe this one. So I know this was the person I was working with, Ryan, 23-year-old comedian, or Canadian, sorry, not comedian, Canadian. And he was using Facebook. It's long back, right? So, and I think there's a lot of that description of people. And I think we needed everyone in that room. So I was a newcoming engineering manager at that time. We had interns in the UX team, marketeers, sales, business development, all together for a day, just really revisiting who are our customers. Again, simple practice. It's just hard to execute sometimes, but it's actually as simple as that. You want your teams to demonstrate care for customers by making sure they know what makes your product better for customers compared to all others in the market. I want to show you something very interesting. So this was my first week, actually the first month. The timestamp is 2021, July 14th. This is Intel Slack channel post by an engineer who basically set up a lab at their home comparing products. And actually, we had this vouchers. You can actually buy all the on shoes at the time, at that time, like limited on shoes. And he basically started measuring it and actually posting it internally, like, hey, there's an issue which we call as wide model. And here is why. And he actually shared data sets, spreadsheets, analysis around that. And I think, who is this person? Is he part of the product development, the physical product development? No. He is an engineer. He's just passionate about why is our product better. And when we call something is wide shoe, they're actually wide because it's on the website, it's on the app, it's what is on the retail store, so we better be selling wide. And I think I have used this person's screenshot, I've hidden his face constantly, internally as well. Whenever I talk about outcome teams, even at On and other places, I always do this. Is probably, I'll keep this forever. It's just a good example of someone who doesn't say, this is not my job, but I really want to showcase and I want to tell you that, hey, there is something wrong here. Obviously, you know what happened? At that time, when the company was small, this feedback got picked up by the physical product team. And they said, oh, yeah, actually, you're right. Scrap that, wide, let's fix it, go back to our factory and actually see where the problem is. It's surprising that this could have been caught at the factory stage, at the implementation stage, but you need an engineer building the web infrastructure to realize that there's a problem. Again, I keep reminding about this constantly, wherever I go. You want your teams, again, irrespective roles, to be selling. You want people to care for selling. I had a conversation with someone I was advising and said, sales is what sales does. And I have to tell him that, hey, spend the day with the sales. Just see how, yeah, it's excitement when you're meeting a customer, when you convince them. It's a whole different game when they actually get onboarded and actually using your product. But again, experiencing them, the selling process is remarkable. You see, the eyes getting wider and they're actually jaw dropping when they see how you convince a customer, hard customer. So at On, when I was there, I had spent 4 years there building their teams. We used to do often go to the stores, spend a day, sell. My proud moment was a few years ago when the Berlin store was open and I sold 3 products. My first shift in the morning, and I was like, "Hey, you know what? I sold 3 products." I said, "3 products? Why are you celebrating? This guy is doing 10." I said, "Okay," but I was so proud that I could find a job selling. And I think it was the most exhausting day for me, but I really realized the pain of it. So we were taking pictures, like, hey, new shipment came to the warehouse. Is it broken? We had a system to track warehouses and inventory, and we had to capture this and say there was a problem in shipment. So how the shipments were tracked, so physically going in for which we were building the software product. It was, I think, a very humbling moment. And I say this also, that we also went to the Portland office and the retail store there just to spend the day selling. And everybody needed to sell. And I think this for me, again, remains that, irrespective of your roles, if you want to build teams that care for customers, they got to be selling. If somebody says, I don't like selling, just try selling and sell them that picture. All right. The next part is how do you build care for problem space? So customers, but hey, there's a problem space. It's a unique environment. Maybe you are in construction industry, maybe unsexy industry. You want to let people care for that problem space, why you should be building in that space. So what you want is you want to incubate the understanding that or basically a deep understanding of the space. So not just surface level. Oh, here is the problem. Here's what we do. It's a customer service, it's automating the customer service, but why customer service automation really matters. So how do you get people invest the time to have a deep understanding? An example, this was at Zalando. My first week, 2018, I was given this book by my boss and basically told that, hey, this will tell you why we are here, why sizing is a problem. Look at the scroll. And this is what every human being who goes and browses website to buy a product suffers from. And go to this book, you have to have a deep experience and then you can ask questions. And I was like, but I don't want to be an expert in sizing and fashion. I'm here to just build this software system. No. That's your first week. That's what you do. And I think for me, that was like, again, okay, it feels like going back to university. And this book is dense. I'm told that all the fashion industry read this book constantly. You can search it. But this was hard. Like, there was no chat GPT. I couldn't summarize the book. So I had to go page by page, marking, noting it down, asking questions. We had fabric designers in the office. Like, what does this what does it even mean? So for me, I think just the piece of being in the problem space means not staying at the surface area, go deep. And I think as all people here, the product folks here, but also people, the teams that you work with, everybody wants to be solving the right problem. And you sometimes identify real golden nuggets if you go deep into that. So invest in this time, create a week, just bring it together. Hey, we'll pick up, someone is industry expert, just bombard them, run a podcast with them, 4 hours, Lex Friedman, whatever, Joe Rogan, on that topic, and let everybody participate. You can do a lot of things to really build deep care about the problem space in which you operate, not just surface level, but deep care. I always keep that GIF with me. You also need competencies. You need understanding competencies. Not all product, not all engineer, not only designer. What competencies do we need to break that space, to be in that problem space? So what are the different functions and roles, skill set, and their challenges, their unique challenges that they have? So can I just sit with a business development person and just spend an understanding what are the unique challenges that they have? What do they see issue on a daily basis? Build that empathy for them. And that creates, again, understanding of problem space. So again, obvious for most of you, but again, we always need to remember this. This matters more than forever in the whole agentic AI space nowadays. Again, running deep sessions. This is like a 8 p.m. session. I have a UX researcher. He's Spotify right now, and another one I think he's in some other company. We have moved on, and it was just going through different topics. I'm an engineering manager. I had no idea. I was like, what is design? What are you building? Show me the prototype. Can I ask you questions? And what do you do? So engaging and immersing in that. And I think we did a lot. So deliberate events. Create that events. It could be lightweight. It could be half a day. I think it just unlocks a lot of value for people. The last, how do you build for the care for product economics, right? So obvious ones. Everybody should know what pays for the salary. Everybody. So if you have an engineer, if you're a designer, like this is your monthly net salary after taxes. Where is your money coming from? Who is paying for it? It just, you can imagine, just go to your teams and ask them, like, do you know who pays for your salary? It's like, yeah, the finance team. Nope. Just let that understanding settle with people. Obvious, how much you spend per customer, you need to know that, and what helps to keep the business running. So one example at GS, we used to do this with a team. So GS was almost 5,000 people. This was like a team of 20 people. I was the youngest one in that market. I was the only one who can speak English. Everybody speaks Korean. They understand English a bit, but I had to translate a bit. I had a translator next to me. And we used to do this weekly business reviews. Like, hey, this is the product we are building. This is the economics of that. Here's how much we invested. Here's how much we spent. This is the money that we're coming in. Here's the cost. This is the amount of cost that we have. Everybody knows it. And I think we had struggled initially. People say, I'm an architect. I don't care about this numbers. Tell me the software problem that you have. It's like, no. Every Monday, everybody is in the session. We call it the weekly KPI session. This is back in 2013 when I was relatively this younger than I am. So 12 years ago. But again, having that understanding really grounds people in the most important thing that matters. A few bits before we go to the next section. So hiring and grooming. So imagine you have, you're working in a team and you want to hire people who have that care, or they have the mindset to build that care. How do you do that? I'm going to give you 3 prompts, not GPT prompts, but just prompts, questions, ideas I have been using constantly in hiring and also vetting with other people. Hey, is this a good question if I ask a salesperson? Yes, it's a good question. So 1, how do you measure the impact of your work? Go ask your fellow engineering manager or designer. Like, how do you know that you made an impact last week? Not like Elon Musk, tell us what you did last week, but basically, how do you know that something changed for the better or for worse, some kind of impact? Do you have some data? Do you know? How do you measure that? Tell me the last time. This is my favorite question for actually sometimes the product manager as well. Tell me when you fail to solve the need for the customer. If you see, it's not a need, it's the need. So it's known need. It's not any need. When you failed it, just listen to the story they say you. See how much details they go in. Again, obvious one, if you're hiring for care. And this is my favorite. If I had another role at my past company, what role would that be and why? And this just, it kind of sometimes surprises people. It's like, what do you mean other role? I interviewing for an engineering role. No. If you had a choice to move to other role, what would that be? Not everybody, and not anybody said like, oh, CEO, by the way. Nobody says that. But again, for me, just getting that emotion out that people actually care. They care for actually entertaining this question. Doesn't feel like a kind of some rough questions being asked in an interview. But what happens if you have people and you're grooming for care? So you know now what that means. You have to show of hands. So I will have some prompts on the screen and just raise your hands. Simple, no Slido. Grooming for care. So you imagine you are looking for grooming the mindset around care. How often in your place you have teams, not just product managers or designers or UX researchers, talking to actual customers? Anyone? 1. There is like 1.5, 2.5, 3, 4. Oh, sorry. It's growing. We're slowly talking to customers. Again, next one. There's no surprise at the end, by the way. It's simple. When was the last time you had your team build something that you disagreed with? One, two. Oh, wow, that's good numbers. Slow increase. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Again, you want to groom for care. One way is, okay, prove it. I disagree with that, but can you prove this? In times of crisis, can your team make a decision that affects revenue? Imagine site outage, app outage, middle of night. I need to turn off this nice feature that is generating like or zero point 0.1 or 1% your conversion. Can I disable that because I think that's troubling it at the middle of the night without calling the product team or the commercial team? Anyone? One and a half, few people. Great. Again, you can groom this. You can groom people to build that care by again just thinking about these things at your workplace. All right, as you say, care is hard. You can't teach people. That's not my problem. So just make it around it. I just can't throw things on the left side. But it's very hard to teach. But it can be groomed. And you can look for people who actually care, who give a damn. All right, last section. So imagine you applied all of this and all the other great ideas, and you built a fabulous team that cares for customer, cares for product economics, cares for the problem space deeply, more than you. How do you keep that mindset consistently? As you grow, you become double, you add more people, you add more complexity. Again, the first thing, my favorite one, sell, sell, sell. Daniela yesterday told me that this shoe is actual shoe. This is not a generated. Actually, it's a generated video, but this is an actual shoe. I don't know which shoe he was talking about, but this is an actual shoe. So sell, sell, sell. Have periodic rotation of your teams in sales function. Let them rotate. Spend a day. Convince their managers. Set the case for it. This is like I can spend the next half an hour on this, but I don't think we have time. Don't fix all problems. One of my managers many years ago told me, Vivek, you are too quick at firefighting. Let that spark and the fire be there for some time. We are adults. You don't have to just jump in and just throw water at it. Let it be. I was like, yeah, but my job was to not have any fires. I was like, no. Just don't do that. So again, avoid the tendency as product leaders, as leaders here, resolving conflicts, even decision conflicts about your product. Let it not be resolved quite quickly, especially not through you. Just let it simmer through it. Let people debate, fight a bit, demonstrate the care, prove you wrong or right. We used to do this conflict resolver role that used to be, it's like a hat. It moves around the team. So I'm not a conflict resolver this week. I don't care. I want to just fight my wits out in a discussion and prove that I'm right. But there's someone who actually can play that role. And they find how conflict resolution works. But again, basics, keeping that mindset means also applying, not fixing all the problems. Reward intelligent risk, obvious. If as you grow, incentives matter. Larger company, people don't care about the mission anymore. I'm here. That's great. That's fantastic. But you need to still build incentives so that they can reward intelligent risk. So celebrate risk, even its failure. Put a Slack message, go to the channel, say, hey, great, somebody said something that we disagreed. It failed. They got feedback. Fantastic. But risk does not mean being careless. And with that, I get reminded by someone, and I heard about this somewhere, and it's like, let me just search. Who said something like this? Of all people, Tom Cruise. Back in COVID, I think he was shooting his whatever new Mission Impossible 100 edition. He said something, and this stayed with me. Like he was basically scolding his team because I think they broke the COVID protocol. And he was constantly saying, don't be careful, be competent. And I was like, what does it even mean? Went to ChatGPT now, just like, hey, what does it even mean? Obviously, I'm outsourcing my understanding now to ChatGPTs. Don't be careful, be competent. It's obvious. So I think just being careless is not something that you want, but you want people to take risk. Anyone take the risk. Probably the last one, and want to spend some time on this to give some practice. Radical ownership. Everybody talks about ownership. I want people to own things. Everybody talks about it. Talk to the CEO. I want my teams to own everything, of course. How do you do that? You need some kind of radical ownership. I think you have models like DRI, directly responsible individual. A lot of companies practice that. Ken Kosienda, who wrote the book Creative Selection, fantastic book if you have not read it, who was the designer of the Apple keyboard, actually built, shipped, did everything on the Apple keyboard. This was when it was still Twitter, perhaps, or maybe not, X now. He said, I was the IC, is the DRI for the project, basically the keyboard, and I have set meetings to VP in legal to go over the details, and he basically goes on to that. You can just search for the same thing. And he explains also in the book about what really means by being a DRI. Let me give you a quick toolkit. That will be the last thing I'll say. How do you build, the radical ownership in your teams? First, figure out where are you in your organization. Are you running an organization that is very consensus driven? Everybody says, hey, yes. I have been in many companies. Confrontational. Oh yeah, we want to be in the room, lock ourselves, we shout at each other, and we come out aligned. Are you that company? Or you're hierarchical. And I've been in exactly these three companies many times. Hierarchical. Okay, I can't decide. Boss. Push it to the boss. So deciding on that, you know how to operate. I'm not saying one is better than the other, by the way. Just just know where you are. What's your operating environment? OODA loop. So observe, orient, where you're operating. So how do you do that? I want to talk about few bits. So one, build some less rules, but more guardrails. Let's look at some guardrails. Constraints of time. Easy one. Put some constraints. Theory of constraints always work. Constraints of budget, constraints on scope, and say, hey, within this, play around. This is your playground. Guardrail 2, build some philosophy, principles, so teams can make a decision. They're not fighting for where the button should be red or blue. We have some kind of philosophy around that. It's documented, we have tested it, we know it's commercially viable. Just go for it. Live within that boundary of guardrails. And one of my favorites, as a team, as an organization, what's your sacrificial and non-sacrificial beliefs? Sacrificial belief, you can get your people to sacrifice it. You can just say, don't worry, yes, we care about customer. That's a sacrificial belief. We don't care about customers, so do it. I'm not saying don't do this, but that might be a sacrificial belief. The beliefs that you want people to test, to also challenge. And there are some non-sacrificial that, okay, we always ask customers. Maybe that's your non-sacrificial belief. And that gives a guardrail for their team to know and to make decision by themselves. Number 2, don't make ownership as a side hustle. The biggest problem when start people talking about radical ownership and building care. Oh, I want people to care. I want them to ownership, but don't make it a side hustle. Few principles. Obvious. Don't want a single person on too many topics. I am DRI of A, B, C, D, E, and F. You see the recipe of disaster. Everybody knows. Advertise it. The H heading 1. Everybody knows this person is the DRI or owner who is going to make accountable decision on this. And the harder parts for people who are managers here, people say, okay, great, I own this, I care for legal things, but my career progression says I'm going to go to level 4 if I do something else. So how does that work? So again, a lot of time mismatch between career progression. If you have a setup that requires career progression, it's meeting the expectation of ownership. So the last one. And my favorite, ownership is a muscle. You can train it. How do you do that? Incentives. So how do you succeed and and enabling fast failures as a team? So set up those incentives, set up those ground rules around that. Train people. I might be great at designer, but I suck at communication. Okay, I need someone who's good at it. Can I pair with that person? Can I get trained around that? So build that in appetite. And lastly, sometimes match the skills. So in the example you heard Ken Kosininda talking about the iPhone keyboard DRI, he was a designer. He could also build stuff, but he mainly was designer, and people were more focused on iPhone keyboard being a design-centric problem. And that's why it was given to him, because it matched the kind of the skill for that project or that initiative. So yeah, that's your template. It's not like a silver bullet. You apply this and suddenly sky is blue and everything is great. Nope. Think of this as almost like ideas. I had been able to test in the wild, and some of this sticks and some of it not. But again, your mileage will vary. All right, so summary. How do you keep the teams? Sell, sell, sell. Again, if you don't remember anything, just remember sell. I'm selling you this right now. Don't fix all problems. Don't get too jumpy into just solving a problem. Reward the risk, intelligent risk, and build radical ownership of features. How do you do that? So remember, keeping is hard. And thank you so much. And I have some questions if you have.
Questions before I start asking?
It's a lot, I know. Need some time to rest it. But if you have any questions, any comments, something that you've seen works or did not work, it's a great moment to also voice out. How much time do we have?
I think 10 minutes.
Lovely. So we can get some conversations if you want.
Maybe I have a question to you.
Go for it.
We have a very famous thing about product. Products are not built by community. Like we sit in a room and we need to please each other, and then with the consensus where you decided, right?
Yeah.
At the same time, people sometimes say like if someone only deciding, he becomes Zlatan Ibrahimovic in the room.
Yeah.
Okay. So what should we do? So care sometimes that I'm opinionated.
Yeah.
And sometimes if I care about people or I care about the product.
Yeah.
So from your perspective, what is a healthy or
I mean, this is the normal problem in the world, right? So I think there is no right or wrong solution around that. I think if you have people, you want people to have ownership on it, and even if they feel like they're like being a dictator, it's like I don't care about opinions. This is my opinion. That's something you can solve by setting up some guardrails. Like, hey, you may be an owner, but at least you have sought inputs and you have vetted them. So you have some guardrails that you can allow that people to use. Even after that, you can say, hey, I spoke to the head of design, but I did not agree and I made a decision. So at least I got that input. So I think for me, the way I think about it is I like, again, less rules and guardrails, but allow people to reach out to the experts as part of them making a decision about that. See if they disagree with it. Again, if they disagree, it shows some care, but they should be clear about what they're disagreeing with. The other thing is a lot of what you describe is a mindset challenge. You want people to actually, it's not about people versus product. I have seen great DRIs who basically is like, oh, I'm a DRI, let me talk to 5 people. Okay, can you tell me exactly what I need to do? And I'm just an executor. So again, what you want is people to build taste. And sometimes if people who haven't had chance to build that taste, it's fine to just lean on people. It said, hey, I am not an expert, but I've been assigned this responsibility of something that is very commercially viable. And I don't know, understand that. Can I lean on you, but it'll be my name on it. I'll put my name on it and see how it goes. So again, accept that you don't know enough. You will never know enough. Fast failure. Can I test it quickly? Also, if you haven't done this before, it's fine to lean on people. Like say, hey, I spoke to Ahmed and he's the expert in that topic, and I did exactly it because I believe that's right, but it still has my name to it. I'm still the DRI on the topic. So I think there's a lot of things that you could do that around that, but it comes down to kind of building that people to build that mindset, but also just reducing the bar around how much do you need to know, how much you need to get convincing. Last, amplify your guardrails. If you feel that there's a risk and there's some sacrificial beliefs or non-sacrificial beliefs, document that. That's your like preamble that you don't want to break if you want to give it to someone like a decision maker.
Thank you.
Hello, thank you. How do you create that appetite for ownership and for like the problem space in an organization or in a team that has maybe gotten quite comfortable in their role over time? Is it a change process that kind of happens under the hood, step by step, where you try to introduce measures step by step? Or is it maybe a big bang that you announce with a drum roll of, hey, we cannot continue like that. This is how we want to work instead?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I think I want to approach the answer by saying how I operate. And I would say you would operate completely different, and that's okay. If a team has been very comfortable, any idea like this is a virus to that system. like, I don't know, fight this. This is not right. So you want people to get a little bit uncomfortable with that, but you need to figure out what's that first area, feature, capability that is not a very high risk to fail, but like a medium to low risk. But it's a good chance for people to demonstrate, like, hey, what does ownership really mean here? So by that saying that, what you could do is look for certain aspects of capabilities, which is a kind of I would not say quick win, it's a dirty phrase, but things that gives feedback to the teams. Oh, this is what ownership looks like. Celebrate it, talk to people about that. The other thing, and I would say someone who is not me would also just rip the band-aid completely. Like, hey, from tomorrow, you are all going to be owning certain things. It's absolutely okay if you don't know that, but this is how we operate. We will give ourselves 4 months to settle in. From now on, everything we build has a single owner, like no decision by committee. If you want advisory, get advisors and move it. And that also works. So again, it depends on where you are, how's your influence power and within the organization, and both works.